Yeah, good morning, Eric.
Morning, Mr. K.
All right, so today we read the books Eat to Beat Disease.
Hmm.
Beer. Beer is made with yeast, and the hops from beer production contain bioactive polyphenols, such as xanthohumol, that wind up in the beverage itself. These bioactives may explain the 25% reduction in risk of death from cardiovascular disease with moderate 1 to 2 drinks per day alcohol consumption of beer. In contrast, cocktails like gin and vodka are distilled alcoholic beverages and do not contain polyphenols. Not surprisingly, these drinks are not associated with health benefits.
Researchers from the universities of Barcelona in Spain examined the effect of beer on endothelial progenitor cells in 33 men between the ages of 55 and 75 who had diabetes and other cardiovascular risk factors like smoking, obesity, high cholesterol, or family history of premature heart disease. They gave the men either two regular beers containing alcohol, a beer with its alcohol removed, or two shots of gin to drink each day for 4 weeks. Blood was drawn at the beginning and at the end of the study to count the number of circulating stem cells. The results show that men drinking alcoholic beer had an 8-fold increase in circulating endothelial cells, and those drinking non-alcoholic beer had a 5-fold increase. Gin drinking did not increase stem cells. The beer also increased blood levels of a protein that recruits stem cells called stromal cells-derived factor 1, SDF1.
The researchers then compared the effect of beer versus gin and found that men drinking gin has a decrease in their circulating endothelial progenitor cells and also had less stem cell recruitment protein in their blood compared to beer. Clearly, beer is a better choice than hard liquor if you want to protect your stem cells. But remember, as with wine, more is not better due to alcohol's toxic effects on stem cells at high levels.
Green tea. Green tea has many well-researched health benefits, and now among them is activating the regenerative system. This has been studied in people who smoke. Cigarette smoking chemically scorches the blood vessel lining, which leads to increased risk of atherosclerosis and cardiovascular disease. Cigarette smoking is also damaging to stem cells and reduces the number of circulating stem cells. People who smoke have 60% fewer stem cells in their bloodstream compared to non-smokers, which is another reason not to smoke.
Researchers from Chongnam National University Hospital in Korea and the Nagoya University Graduate School of Medicine in Japan examined the effects of drinking green tea on the stem cells of smokers. They enrolled 20 young men in their late 20s who had smoked for 6 years and gave them 4 cups of green tea to drink each day for 2 weeks, a total of 56 cups. Their blood was drawn at the beginning and at the end of the study to count the number of circulating endothelial progenitor cells present. The results show that drinking green tea increased the number of circulating stem cells by 43% over 2 weeks.
The health of the smoker's blood vessels was also improved by green tea over the study periods. The vascular dilation response was improved by 29%. In the lab, scientists have discovered that green tea and its catechins can stimulate regeneration of brain, muscle, bone, and nerves, and can promote wound healing. Green tea offers benefits for the regenerative system across the entire body. Another reason to drink this beverage.
Black tea. Black tea was once thought to be devoid of health benefits because it is fermented and has fewer polyphenols than green tea. But researchers at the University of L'Aquila in Italy have shown that black tea can in fact mobilize stem cells. To study this effect, they recruit 19 individuals in their 50s who had recently been diagnosed with mild to moderate hypertension, but who had not yet been treated with any medication. The subjects had no other diseases and were not taking any medications. They were given a cup of black tea or a placebo beverage to drink twice per day for 1 week. Instructions were given for them not to add any milk, sugar, or other additives to their tea. The researchers measured the number of circulating endothelial cells in the blood. After 1 week, drinking black tea increased the circulating endothelial progenitor cells by 56%. The health of the vascular system was also improved with 2 cups of black tea per day, as seen by the ability of the blood vessels of black tea drinkers to dilate better. To see if black tea would protect the circulation against the effects of dietary fat, the researchers then asked the subjects to consume high-fat whipped cream and then drink black tea. Eating whipped cream had a surprisingly swift negative effect on blood flow. Vessel dilation actually decreased by 15% within 2 hours after eating whipped cream. However, drinking black tea protected the blood flow of tea drinkers against this impact and preserved the ability of blood vessels to dilate.
Stem cell boosting dietary patterns. While we have been focusing on the evidence for specific foods and beverages to influence stem cells, the overall patterns of eating can have its own beneficial effect on the body's regenerative capacity. Mediterranean diet. The Mediterranean diet was not originally a formal diet, but rather a broad dietary patterns consumed by people living in Mediterranean countries. Data on this style of eating was first collected from Italy and Greece by Ancel Keys at the University of Minnesota and his colleagues conducting the famous 7-country study started in 1958. The study examines and compares foods and health associations of 12,000 men living in Italy, Greece, Yugoslavia, the Netherlands, Finland, Japan, and the United States. It was one of the first studies to show the link between saturated fat intake and heart disease. The diet of the Mediterranean regions has been long associated with comparatively better outcomes for heart health. Now we know from many different clinical and epidemiological studies that the Mediterranean diet lowers the risk of developing many different types of chronic health ailments. The hallmark of these dietary patterns is that it comprises fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, nuts, olive oil, and fish. Diversity is a characteristic, and each food contains its own proof of, of health defense activating bioactive.
The fourth line from the bottom and the 7 words. This one is almonds. Yeah, you pronounce almonds.
Okay, almond.
The beneficial impacts of the Mediterranean diet include stimulating stem cells to help the body regenerate. Researchers at the University of Cordoba in Spain examined 20 healthy elderly people, 10 men and 10 women older than 65 years, who consume either a Mediterranean diet containing extra virgin olive oil or a diet high in saturated fatty acids, 38% fat with butter, or a low fat, high carb diet, walnuts, biscuits, jam, bread. Over the course of 4 weeks, they measured circulating endothelial progenitor cells in the blood at the beginning and end of the study. The results show that people who consumed the Mediterranean diet had a fivefold increase of circulating endothelial progenitor cells compared to less healthy diets containing saturated fats or high in carbohydrates.
To test whether the diet affects blood flow, researchers performed a test called ischemic reactive hyperemia test. This test uses laser to measure how well blood vessels recover from a 4 minute period of constrictions using a standard blood pressure cuff of the upper arm. The cuff is inflated to temporarily cut off blood flow. However, the blood flow returns to normal after the cuff is released, reflects the general state of circulatory health in the subject. In the Spanish study, the people who consume a Mediterranean or low-fat, high-carb diet had a 1.5-fold improvement of blood flow recovery compared to the saturated fat diet, correlated with the higher levels of endothelial progenitor cells seen. These stem cells protect the blood vessel lining, leading to better vascular health.
This research in the Mediterranean diet's effect on stem cells adds a whole new dimension to understanding its heart-healthy benefits. Caloric restriction and fasting. Caloric restriction is not a fad diet, but a condition that has been experienced throughout human evolution, especially during the hunter-gatherer period. Finding food was an unpredictable event. As a result, our metabolism not only evolved to tolerate caloric caloric restriction, but also in fact functions perfectly well under these conditions. It's become well known that caloric restriction, defined as reducing intake of calories by 20 to 40%, can increase longevity and reduce the risk of chronic diseases. Scientists at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology have discovered that caloric restriction activates stem cells in the intestines, which helps regenerate cells of the gut. Other studies have shown that reducing calories in mice increases the production of the regenerative protein. SDF1 and its receptor CXCR4, which together recruit and attract stem cells, from the bone marrow into the bloodstream.
Kicking things up to a notch, an amazing discovery was made in a joint study by scientists from the Shanghai Chiao Tung University School of Medicine and the secondary military medical universities in China. They show that fasting can stimulate brain regeneration. Unlike caloric restriction, in fasting, food is completely restricted from a sustained period of time. The scientists studied mice suffering from acute stroke. They fasted a group of mice for 48 hours and compared them to mice that had access to a normal unrestricted diet. They then removed endothelial progenitor cells from the mice 4 days after the stroke and found that the stem cells from the fasted group were superior in their ability to regenerate both the brain and blood vessels needed to bring blood flow to help stroke recovery. When the fasted stem cells were later injected into the bloodstreams for other mice suffering from stroke, the fasted stem cells also gave a superior performance. They migrated right to part of the brain affected by the stroke and created a 50% better than usual androgenic response to restore blood flow and a 32% reduction in the size of the damaged area of the brain. The mice treated with fasted stem cells also had better neurological recovery, including improved balance and walking speed, when compared to mice receiving stem cells obtained from mice that did not fast.
Dietary patterns that impair beneficial stem cells. It probably won't surprise you to learn that the foods with a reputation for being unhealthy also damage your stem cells. Staying away from these types of foods will protect your regenerative health defense system. A well-functioning set of stem cells will not only help you keep your organs in good shape, but they will also help slow down the aging process. High-fat diet. A high-fat diet containing unhealthy saturated fats is very damaging to stem cells. The damage is body-wide, but it's worthwhile noting what these can do to your brain. These can lead to problems with neurogenesis, the process that regenerates neurons in the hippocampus region of the brain responsible for forming new memories. Avoiding a high-fat diet helps maintain cognitive health, which is important at any age, whether you are in grade school or a nursing home.
High-fat diets also hurt the circulatory system by damaging endothelial progenitor cells. Scientists for Changguang University College of Medicine in Taiwan look at the impact of a diet containing high levels of saturated fat on the body response to ischemia in mice. In their study, researchers fed a high-fat diet to mice with high blood cholesterol and high fasting blood sugars, which mimic a pre-diabetic state in humans. The number of stem cells were measured in the blood. On a high-fat diet, mice had 41% lower levels of circulating endothelial progenitor cells compared to a normal diet. Then the mice underwent a procedure to lower blood flow to their limbs. The normal response to this would be a wave of stem cells surging out from the bone marrow to the limb. These stem cells help regenerate the circulation and dying muscle. However, in mice who ate the high-fat diet, the researchers found blood flow was diminished by 75% and there were 55% fewer capillaries growing in their limb. The reduced stem cells, poor blood flow, and diminished angiogenesis reflect the negative impact on regeneration caused by a fatty diet.
Unfortunately, high-fat diets do not impair fat stem cells, which are the source of more fat cells in adipose tissue. Scientists from the University of British Columbia show that mice fed a high amount of saturated fat actually had a 42% enhancement of the growth of fat stem cells under the skin. Even worse, a lab study conducted at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology showed that a high-fat diet can influence normal intestinal stem cells in a dangerous way by increasing their tendency to develop tumors. To be clear, these studies use saturated fats in their diets, so you can assign these stem cells problem to bad saturated fats rather than good polyunsaturated fats.
By avoiding saturated fats in your diet, you may improve your ability to regenerate your circulatory system, improve your connections, and help stop your stem cells from generating new fat cell or tumor cells.
Hyperglycemic foods. Add these to the sugar wrap sheet. High levels of sugar incapacitate our regenerative defense system. Food and beverages that raise blood sugar block the production of stem cells, lowering your body's ability to repair organs. It gets worse. Elevated blood sugars have been shown to cripple and kill important stem cells across the board, from endothelia progenitor cells to bone progenitor cells to cardiac stem cells. If you need your stem cells to be at their best, take a low glycemic index approach to your diet. This means minimizing or avoiding altogether sugary processed foods containing little or no fiber that can cause blood sugar to spike, such as sugar-sweetened beverages and many packaged snack foods.
High salt diet. Salt makes food taste good, but chronic high salt intake is linked to a slew of health problems ranging from high blood pressure to cardiovascular disease to stripping away the protections mucus lining of your stomach and increasing your risk of stomach cancer. Scientists at the Medical College of Wisconsin studied salt's impact on stem cells by feeding rats different diets containing varying amounts of salt. One group was given a normal diet, 0.4% salt. Another group, a high salt diet, 4% salt, with 10 times more salt. The scientists collected stem cells from the bone marrow of rats in both groups after 7 days of feeding the diet. Then they injected these stem cells coming from normal or high salt diets into a new group of rats whose legs had damaged blood flow to test their regenerative capacity.
The results show that stem cells from rats fed a normal salt diet could improve the leg circulation in the recipient rat by 24%. However, the stem cells exposed to a high salt diet were crippled and could barely participate in regeneration. With only 6% improvement in blood flow, highly salted stem cells did not survive long, with a 50% increase in cell death after they were injected as treatment compared to normal salt stem cells. Patients with cardiovascular disease who are told by the cardiologist to avoid excessive salt in their food because the risk of high blood pressure now have another even more compelling reason to stay on low salt diet.
Diseases of importance: cancer and its dangerous stem cell. Cancerous tumors contain a tiny but deadly population of stem cells known as cancer stem cells. These stem cells were discovered in 1994, and they are dangerous. They are mutations of normal stem cells. This means that they are capable of regenerating tissue like normal stem cells, but the tissue that is created is cancerous. Cancer stem cells also help grow tumors that have metastasized to other organs.
Foods that kill cancer stem cells.
Mr. K, how about we read until here?
Oh, all right.
Yeah, so.
Yep, so would you mind if I share my opinions first for today's part?
You can start first.
Okay. Firstly, the beer and the green tea, I think, I wouldn't do any changes in my life for this one. I don't drink beer and green tea because of some other, I think it's side effect of them, which is the caffeine. Yep. And the next one I want to talk about is the Mediterranean diet. For this one also, I think maybe I will refer to some of the things in that. Okay, for example, vegetables, which is one of the things that is emphasized in Mediterranean diet. So I think vegetables is something important. So I will continue to eat more vegetables in my every meals. And then it also mentions that fish is regarded as white meat, and is suggested to consume more than the red meat. The red meat here is according to Mediterranean diet is less than 2 serve, 2 or less than 2 serves per week. 1 serve is equal to 60 grams of meat. So for fish, it is suggested to take more than 2 serves per week. So this can be some reference. I think in my life I eat quite a lot of pork. Pork is regarded as red meat. So need to be reduced and controlled.
Really? Pork is red meat?
Yeah, red meat. I did research yesterday. They say even though the color of the pork may seems not so red after they cook, but it is treated as red meat also. Yep. And then for this one, I think I didn't follow strict to Mediterranean diet. Just some changes. And
are you going to the next point, or are you continue?
If you want to talk about Mediterranean, you can say right now.
And I think it's at the line 961. Start from the Mediterranean diet, and it's 962, and you see there's a research, right? This is done by the Ancel Keys, right? And actually it's a high debate on this research. I think you don't know about this. Otherwise you share your point out. Okay. And if you want to do some research after this, you can go to Google, and then you can type something like the 7 country study. 7-country study, and you find the Wikipedia link. Yeah, and you can maybe you can type a 7-country study and then type the name, Ancel Keys. Yeah, then I think you will get to you will find the Wikipedia link. And if you key into the Wikipedia link, and then you really study it, you really read it, and you will find that actually this research is not well conducted. Why? This person, the Keys. Okay, I learned this study from elsewhere, not from this Wikipedia. The Keys actually he make a hypothesis first. He make a hypothesis that high fat and low fiber is bad for our health. And then so he conduct the research, and then he actually collected data from 23 countries. 23 countries. Okay. And but at the end, the conclusions and the result from the final result, this Keys, this man Keys published is only include 7 countries.
Oh.
So where is the remaining? Is this yeah, my bet is quite bad. How many countries?
16.
He left out 23 minus 7.
16.
16 country. 16 country he left out. Yeah, so it's only less than 1/3, right? Less than 1/3 of the country.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and then some other scientists criticize the result, criticize the study. And then they found that actually by combining all of the country, the 23 country data, and then he found that there is no correlation or no association between the low-fat diets with a healthier life. Yeah, and there's no association. There's no significant statistic differences showing that by reducing the amount of fats, no matter saturated fats or maybe it's other type of fat, actually increase your health, improve your health. Yeah. So this is the criticism on this research.
Yeah. I think this is important to get informed. Yep. Okay. So yeah, and after that, I think I want to talk about the one kind of food, which is let me see. Oh, yeah, it is not. Yeah, we haven't read yet. So I think I had better talk about that in the next reading session. Yep.
Yeah, and on the line, yeah, it's one small point I want to make on the black tea part.
Okay.
On in the line 958, and it say that the scientists fed the mice the high fat whipped creams, right?
Yep.
And I'm not sure whether the cream includes the sugar. Yeah. So if you only take fat and compare to take the fat plus sugar, it could be different things. It could be totally different result.
Yep.
So this is something I want to point out. And also, okay, the last, so not last, the second last, which is on the fasting. Fasting, I think, is at around 966 to 967.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the scientists conduct the research on the mice. And yeah, so interestingly, yesterday I listened to a podcast, and I I heard one of the doctors say that this is like she's the expert in the uh is what is it called, intermittent fasting. Okay,
Okay.
and he say that yeah, okay, one thing I want to point out is one of the thing I want to point out is yes, fasting is good for human. Fasting is really good for human, and it's been well studied. And many people try this for many years, many decades. Yeah, and we can found some religions actually have the habit or have the incorporate the fasting and into their daily life.
Yeah.
And it's well studied, and you can find a lot of data for maybe 100 years or 200 years, yeah, even 500 years. You can find it, and you can do some research. Yeah. But when the doctor say that one thing some scientists did on the mice could be irrelevant, totally irrelevant to the human. There's no cause and effect. If you do on mice, it's effective. This doesn't mean that done on human is effective. One of the things she point out is quite surprising to me, which is, mice. If you fast him, if you starve the mice for 48 hours,
2
their
days.
body weight will decrease around 40 to 50%.
Wow.
Their body weight will decrease around 40 to 50%, while humans only 1 to 2% or even less. Yeah, so you can see this is a big changes, right? And it's a big difference.
Yeah.
But you didn't hear other scientists talk about this when they talk about fasting, when they talk about the research done on the mice. And I wonder, a lot of research would have the same characteristic. They will have a big difference compared between human and mice, but they didn't tell you.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of I want to say the what's it called, the dark water inside. I mean the water is not quite clear. It's cloud.
Yeah.
And you really need to dip into to study. Yeah. And the last thing I want to make a point. Do you want to give some comment?
No, but I just wonder whether you have tried fasting, maybe once per week or every few days.
Yeah, actually, I think yes. I would say yes. Sometimes, even when I was in JB and I don't know about the fasting, sometimes I was just don't want to eat. Yeah. Maybe it's just because my mother is out and no one is cooking for me, and I also don't want to cook the Maggie. I don't want to eat some unhealthy food, and I'm lazy. Yeah, this is the main reason. And then I can starve myself for whole day.
Oh, yeah. You mean skip a meal?
Maybe it's skip 2 meal or skip the whole day meal. Yeah, sometimes. And after I moved into Singapore, sometimes when I'm lazy and then I didn't cook for the next day, yeah, I will also like to maybe do the fasting. Yeah, and also sometimes I don't want to cook dinner, just lazy and I'll fast. Yeah, and I don't take dinner.
Yep.
Mm.
So,
And
any
if you
feeling?
want to talk
Yeah.
if you want to talk about my feeling, I think it seems like uh after I doing that, my mind become more clear.
Mm,
Maybe it's a placebo effect. Yeah, maybe it's just a placebo effect. And I
mm,
remember one of the and actually what uh what make me do this. Yeah, what make me did this, and then even though I'm unconscious about the fasting, the benefit of fasting, I think this is come from one of the comic, and this is the Conan. Yeah, in Chinese we
mm,
call 名侦探 Conan.
yeah.
Yeah, and this is a uh Japanese comic or Japanese the animation.
Mm,
Yeah, and it's also a novel, if I'm not wrong. And
yeah.
I remember in one of the episodes I have watched, and the Conan say that, yeah, uh, he don't want to eat because when he say scientists said I don't know I forget because this
Mm,
is so long years ago, and he
yeah.
say that the Conan say that scientists say that uh if you don't eat, your brain will function better. It's something like that, and then
Mm,
your brain will become more clear, something like that.
mm,
So when he's surveying and investigating a crimes, yeah, and he don't eat, yeah, he don't make himself full,
mm,
something like that. Yeah, and
mm,
yeah, it's quite funny. But I maybe something like this uh it's kind of like already in my subconscious, and then yeah, and then I believe this, and then when I'm lazy and I don't want to cook, and then I use this kind of uh things to convince myself to rationalize myself.
mm,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, and also I think I told you before, start from 1 years ago, and then yeah, I think it's around 1.5 years ago. I only take 2 meal, and I shift my the first meal in the morning, which consider lunch for other people, but this is the breakfast for me.
Mm,
And then I take the quote unquote breakfast. Yeah, the portion is quite big, like
mm,
people's lunch,
yeah.
and then I don't eat in the noon.
Mm,
Yeah, and sometimes I did eat something. My college give me something to eat,
mm,
and yeah, and I take my second meal and also the last meal in the day at which is the dinner at around 7 to 8 p.m. Yeah, so
mm,
you can also kind of like uh say that the time the duration between my first meal and second meal is around 12 hours.
mm,
Yeah, it's around 12 hours because I ate I eat my first meal at around 7, and yeah, so that it's also a kind of a mimic of the fasting. Yeah, I
mm,
reduce my meal uh amount. I mean the frequency of the meal.
mm,
Yeah, and then I actually feel better actually after some time. And people always say that you shouldn't do this. You shouldn't eat too full in the morning, and you cannot skip your lunch. It is bad for your body.
mm,
And initially, I will tell them by studying the nutrition. Actually, you eat the same thing in the morning, or you eat the same, or in lunch. It doesn't matter. They call them macro calorie macronutrition and the nutri a micronutrition is way more important than counting on lunchtime, counting your meal frequency, and 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 uh, and finding a right time to eat maybe like this, or
Mm.
maybe the frequency of the meal, which is a 3 meal per day, or
Yeah.
4 meal per day, or 6 meal per day. Yeah. But after some times, I which is like, I mean, it's like 6 months, start from 6 months ago, or start from like, I think it's not too far ago. Maybe I think it's after. I'm pretty sure it's after we read this book, because I gain I get the awareness, and then I start to search something nutrition about. Yeah, because we start reading this book about the nutrition, and then I found that actually fasting, yeah, is one of the way. And some people eat only 1 meal per day. Yeah, 1 meal. Some people eat 2 meal.
Yeah.
And so that they get the improvement by reduce the frequency of the meal, and then they get tons and tons of benefits. Yes, and then it actually fully convinced me. Initially, I would think, okay, maybe I was wrong, or maybe there's no benefit, or maybe there's a long-term consequences. But now actually I think, yeah, this is a good way. This is the right way of doing things. Yeah, so this is about the fasting.
So in the afternoon, don't you drink the something like the wheat beverages anymore?
Now, yeah, no.
Oh, I see.
Mm.
Yep. Yeah. Don't you really feel hungry? Maybe at like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock.
You will, and but that is not going to kill you. And people who do intermittent fasting, they also feel hungry,
Oh, I see.
but it's not going to kill you, and it's actually good for your body. And one of the thing I learned, which is why fasting is good, it's actually your normal cell, your healthy cell, it can react to the period you're fasting, and it can do some changes, and it can kind of like improve themselves and grow themselves. But for cancer cells cannot do that. Cancer cell we're going to stop, and it cannot grow itself, if you stop them, if you don't eat anything. So when you're doing intermittent fasting, your normal cells will respond, will adapt it. Yeah, you adapt it, but your cancer cells cannot adapt it. So it will become weaker and weaker, and then your normal cell will become stronger and stronger. And for some people, for example, they do the chemo, they get a cancer.
Yeah.
Stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. They do the chemotherapy, and then they couldn't eat too much. And when they couldn't eat too much, they actually also are starving their cancer cell, and they make their normal cell adapt to it. But you still have the debate on the chemo, because chemo is killing your normal cell and also your healthy cell all together with the cancer cells, right? You kind of like throw the baby off the bath water, which is you get rid of the good things together with the bad things. Yeah. So there's still a lot of debate, but sure, there's a point where they must have a point which you have to do chemo. This is just a cost and benefit analysis. Yeah. Sometimes maybe you shouldn't do chemo. Sometimes you have to do chemo.
Yep. Yeah, and for fasting, I think actually I would like to try. Yeah, but sometimes when I just reduce the amount of uh, maybe the amount of a meal, and then yeah, I kind of like feel a little bit of stomach ache. Yeah, my stomach is uh I feel stomach ache. Yeah, and then sometimes also
Mm.
when I delay, let's say I take my lunch like 3 o'clock, and also sometimes I feel like I got a little bit stomach ache, and
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I think my stomach isn't that good. Um, so that I had better try to reduce it slowly. Yeah.
What do you mean reduce it slowly?
Which is like I try to reduce the amount, but I don't skip the
What
meal.
amount? What
The
amount?
amount the
Okay, yeah,
let,
yeah,
mm,
yeah. You mean eat lesser, right?
yeah, it lesser.
Yeah. Sorry to tell you that eat lesser cannot mimic the effect of the intermittent fasting. Yeah, sorry to
Oh,
tell you about that. Because
mm,
uh yeah, why there's a benefit for fasting is actually your when you do fasting, your body consume your body consume of the it's actually it's not consume. I mean what I want to say is dry out. Yeah, it's dry. It dry off the blood glucose in your body, and it forces the body to use a ketone as a fuel to feed your cell. And then
mm,
by doing this process, your cells need to react to that, need to adapt that. So
mm,
this is the reason why fasting has a benefit. But if you eat the meal every
yeah.
4 hours, yeah, or every 5 hours, you can't mimic this because they still have the blood glucose, they still have the sugar in your body. You didn't get rid of that. Your
Mm,
body will just give you a signal. Okay, now, but glucose is going to dry out. You have to eat. You have to eat. You have to eat. Yeah, and then you couldn't just reduce the amount. You reduce the amount, you still have the blood glucose in your body. And
mm,
human need about, I think it's around 12 hours. Sorry, some people say 18 hours to 24 hours to really dry out most of your blood glucose in the body.
oh,
Yeah. So can you see that if you reduce the amount of the meals,
mm,
it's not going to work. It just makes
yeah,
you feel bad. Yeah, it makes you feel
yeah,
worse actually.
yeah.
And what you should do is actually you should eat a lot of portion and reduce the frequency of the meal. Yeah. So
Mm,
eat more portion.
mm,
Mm.
yeah.
If you want to try the intermittent fasting. Yeah. And also the last thing I want to make is about the high fat diet. This is the line 973.
Mm.
Do you see something that I comment on that?
High fat diet.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean on the comment parts?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I miss that.
Mm. Yeah, that's okay. And you can go back to see. Uh, I miss after this conversation. Okay. And start from line 9. Sorry, I think it's yeah, it start from line 962. And then okay, uh this is actually a research. Yeah, because you
Yeah,
can
yeah,
see,
Eric, can
yeah,
you hear me?
bad
Yeah,
connection.
bad connection. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. It is start from the line 972, and this is the high fat diet.
Mm.
And if you see the line, the first line at the end there's a 49, right? Sorry, 48 in the first line. A high fat diet containing unhealthy saturated fat is very damaging to stem cell. Stop. A full stop. There's a 48, right? Do you know
Mm.
what is the
Yeah.
48 means? Do you know what is the 48 means? It's a reference.
Um.
This is a
Oh,
reference.
reference.
Mm.
I see.
And if you go to the book, if you go to the book, and then you go to see the reference, and then you can check the study, check the real study that the author put at here.
Oh.
And then I go to check. So this study, the author put it here. The study source is that the author put here. And also I put the link below. Yeah. And you can check it. And in this research, in this article, the writer of this article actually mentioned about the ketogenic diet. And it's also a high-fat diet. Yeah. Ketogenic diet is like low carbohydrate diets and but high fat and adequate of sufficient proteins. So it is a combination. A combination of this is called ketogenic diet. Of course, they eat the greens, they eat the vegetable, but they just reduce the consumption of carbohydrate. Okay, and a lot. Some people reduce to maybe 10 gram or 20 gram. Some people even reduce to 0 gram. Yeah, and then most of their calories it come from the fats and protein, right? Because veggie don't have much calorie, right? And then I quote one of the line mentioned in this article, and I strongly recommend you to read the whole article. And the diet is associated with improved mitochondrial and cellular metabolism, which may confer neuroprotective properties. However, ketogenic diets are not restricted to treatment of neurological ailment. Recent clinical studies reveal that a low carbohydrate ketogenic diet improved the prognosis of obese and type 2 diabetic patient. So that means the ketogenic diet, which you can consider high fat diet because it is high fat, right? And it's actually good for the obesity. Can improve the prognosis of obesity and also type 2 diabetic patient. And one of the things we already know, which is the diabetic patient, they have low level of stem cell, right? And also the people obese, they also have low level of stem cell. The stem cell cannot really create, cannot really move fast. But why ketogenic diet is also one of high fat diet can help to improve the symptoms, can cure their illness. Maybe not cure, but maybe improve their symptoms. So is it something beyond this? Something we don't know? We couldn't just look at the stem cell. This is one thing. And also in this research, this study, ketogenic diet is not classified as high fat diet in this study. So in this article, if after that you go read, and then it's a high fat diet, it also have ketogenic diet. The writer of this article actually separate them. Yeah, separate them. And then high fat diets defined by the writer of this article is high fat is kind of like the standard American diet. So the high fat, high sugar, okay, high carbohydrate, high salt intake is all there, and maybe low fiber or moderate high fiber. Yeah, and yes, and they call this type of thing is called high fat diet. Yeah, so repeat again: high carbohydrate, high sugar, high salt intake, high fat, and low fiber. Yeah, they consider this is high fat diet. And actually, high fat diet has another term, which is the standard American diet, and also it also includes a lot of processed foods. And then the book of this author, the book of the author, which is this book, the William Lee, and actually did mention ketogenic diet in line 1000. Okay. But what I want to point out is it's quite conflicting. It's quite confusing because without reading the source and truly understand the definition and understand the jargons, it's very easily to be misled. but the scientists, the nutritionists, and also including the author of this book. Yeah. Yeah, in your opinion, what is high fat diet? If I didn't show you this information, just high fat, right?
Yeah, high fat and then a lot of meat.
Yeah, right. Just high fat, and high fat plus veggie is high fat. High fat plus sugar is also high fat. High fat plus a lot of salt intake is also high fat. What that high fat diet really means? Yeah, is not what we actually the high fat diet they define is not actually what we think. Yeah. Yeah. So and then on the line 973, and also refer to the study. There's also a study which is conducted by, I think it's Taiwan's university. Yeah. And the reference of high fat diet mentioned here is also they want to feed the mice to mimic the obesity of the human. And then so what they do is feed them high fat, high sugar, and high carbohydrate. And it also mentioned in this line, right? And I see, yeah, in their study, the researchers fed a high fat diet to mice with high blood cholesterol and high fasting blood sugar, which mimic a pre-diabetic state in human. Yeah, so that yeah, the author did mention here. But just like what I say, this is high fat plus high sugar plus high blood cholesterol. So it's not a pure high fat. And so the study, which study, the Taiwan study, and they try to make the mice very fat, which mimic the obesities of human. And then after that they use they test the number of the stem cell in their bloodstream. And then they found that, yeah, the mice who maybe they're obese, right? Because you feed them the high fat diet, they're obese. Of course, they have the lower level of circulating endothelial progenitor cell, which is the stem cell compared to a normal diet. The normal diet is the mice is even obese, right? Yeah. Or maybe they compare after and before. So of course, you see, humans become obese. Human become a pre-diabetic or diabetic person. They have low number of stem cells in their body, and people who are obese, they also have low number of stem cells in their body. But does it mean that it's a high fat diet cause it? What if the high fat diet didn't make you obese? Would it still cause the same thing? Will it still reduce your endothelial progenitor cells? This is a question. Yeah. And I also attach a link, which is a Wikipedia link, which is the thing is the general the scientists, the general definition of the high fat diet by the scientists. And when they use a high fat diet, actually they want to mimic the standard American diet, and they want to make maybe the mice become obese so they can conduct the research. Yeah. And so by considering all of these things, there are a few questions. First, is the high fat diet associated with the low levels of circulating endothelial progenitor cell stem cell, or is the obesity associated with the low level of stem cell? And also, you have to know that there's a jargon here, which is association. Association doesn't mean causation. Association is just like the correlation. There's a, okay, for example, I smile to other people, people may smile back to me, have higher chance to smile back to me. And then it is an association, it's a correlation. It doesn't mean that every time I smile to other people, people will smile back to me. It's not the cause. Yeah. And also for another example, a better example, okay, for example, I help people help back me. It's also the same thing. And also, for example, I provide value to other people. People will make me well. Yeah, I provide I provide value to others. And then I will make money, or I make investment, I will earn money. Yeah. Or I work hard, I will earn money. Sorry, I mean that I work hard, I will make more money. Yeah. There's an association here. Yeah. But yeah, I think I didn't give a very good example. Okay, I give you a better example. Just ignore everything what I say just now. For example, okay, a taller person, a taller person is more attractive. Yeah, a taller person is more attractive. So it is an association. It is not a causation. It's not because they are so tall, so they are so attractive. And it may have other factors come to play. And also, for example, a taller person, their body weight is higher, their body weight is greater. This is association, but it doesn't mean that every tall person, their weight will be more than maybe 70 kg or 80 kg. It's not like this. This is only the association. Maybe what's the reason behind is the taller person, their bone is taller. Okay, maybe their bone mass has the weight, so they may weight more than other shorter person. But it's just an association. Okay, it's not a causation. It's not that mean they are tall, so they're fat, or they are tall, so they weight more. It's an association. And also another, for example, is let's say, for example, let's say, for example, higher risk, higher returns is also an association. Yeah, it doesn't mean that the high risk called the high return. It also doesn't mean that the high return will call the high risk. There's an association, there's a correlation here, but there's no proof, there's no evidence to show that one cause other. Okay. And also, for example, people did some other thing, they become more luckier. So that they become luckier. Okay, there's an association. Yeah, there's no the cause. It's not the causation. For example, you're chanting, and then it may increase your luck. And then you try to apply the law of attraction, it may increase your luck. You may get what you want, but it's not a causation. It could be the association. Yeah. And what other thing comes into the games? What thing may play out? We don't know. Yeah, there could be other reason, and there could be a survival bias here. So this is jargon here, the association. This is not the causation. So it's not means that high fat diet cause low stem cell, but just they found a study. Okay, the people who eat high fat, okay, and they will have lower stem cell, just like this. Yeah, it doesn't mean that high fat causes stem cell. They just observe. people who didn't eat high-fat diet, okay, they have normal level of stem cell, but people who eat high-fat diet, they have higher level of stem cell. But what plays into this? But what make this? Is there any is it other factor cause it? We don't know. So this is the association. This is not the causation. Yeah, so this is I think it's one of the most important in this jargon in the scientific paper, no matter in the nutrition, no matter in maybe other finance, economics, yeah, other research paper. You need to understand this jargon. Yeah, and then the second thing so diet with high fat, high sugar, high salt, and low fiber contents related to the obesity. This is everyone know, right? Because you feed them, you feed the mice this, and they become obese. You feed people like this, then the American diet they become obese. But how about high fat, high proteins? Just about high fat, high protein, yeah. No carbons, no carbs, no carbohydrate, which is the ketogenic diet. Yeah, is it associated with obesity? Yeah, or maybe you use high sugar or high proteins. Yeah, you didn't eat high fat, but you eat high sugar, high carbohydrate, high protein. Is it associated with obesity? Did you did the research? Did you did the the scientist did the research? Yeah. So it's a question. And this is also something that we need to understand. Yeah. And also the next thing is, how about the association of ketogenic diet and the stem cell? From the article we mentioned just now, it seems like there's an improvement. Yeah, and also ketogenic diet contain high fat but associated with improve of the prognosis of obese and type 2 diabetes. So how to explain this? This is also high fat diet. So is the high fat cost you? You shouldn't eat high fat, or you should avoid a type of diet? This is a real question.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, this is just few of the research I done in this book. For this book, I really do the deep research.
Yeah.
For example, the Light 961, the Ancel Keys, the 7-country study, and I think it's irresponsible for a scientist or for a doctor not mention about the criticism to the study and then just point out this is good, just point out you should follow this, but they didn't tell you the opposite side, the opposite voice. And in my opinion, this study is not really conduct well. You see, you collect the data from 23 countries, but you only publish 7 countries. Yeah. What is the incentive? What is the intention? Yeah, I couldn't believe in this study. Yeah, and so as a scientist, as a nutritionist, as an author, I think it's responsible for you to at least point out the opposite voice. Yeah, and also adhere high fat diets. I also think that it's not responsible to just say that okay, high fat diet. Put some study, and what if other people don't look at the reference? Most of people will look at the reference. Most of people will, like me, click the reference and try to find the article, try to find the sources, and try to understand why it's a high fat diet. Most of people will not do like this, and then you are misleading other people. Because you see, if you read back for the high fat diet section from line 91 to around 975, you can see that the whole argument, the whole point the author made is try to convince you to reduce the fat, especially the saturated fats. Yeah. So yeah, this is what I want to voice out for this reading section.
Yeah, thank you for pointing it out. Yeah, to be honest, after reading the part talking about high fat, yeah, I kind of like subconsciously put in uh the advice. Yeah, I accept the advice, like try to avoid fatty foods,
Sure.
and then yeah, really is kind of too misleading. Yeah, if
Sure.
without further definition.
Yeah. Yeah. And then what you're going to replace the fat? You replace with the processed foods, replace to the rice, replace to some other high carbohydrate foods. But what is the consequences?
Mm.
We don't know. Yeah. Right.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. Just like just now, I already tell you, I want to make the changes like eating less pork. Yeah, reduce the meat consumption.
Mm. And if you reduce the pork, okay, some people use a pork lard, a pork lard, which is the pork oil, to cook the dishes.
Mm.
And the omega-6-3 ratio is 7. So 6 omega-3 per 1 omega, sorry, 7 omega-6 to 1 omega-3. Yeah, and the best ratio is 1 to 1. But lard has 7 to 1. But if you don't use a lard to cook your dishes, what you use? Cooking oil, sunflower oil,
Yeah,
the
vegetable oil.
the vegetable oil. You know, most of vegetable oil, their omega-6-3 ratio, how high is it? More than 20, some more than 50, some is infinity because it don't contain any omega-3, just contain omega-6. And we also mentioned about the danger of consuming too much omega-6. And we also read the reading session that the author also point out that, yeah, so if you don't use a lot to cook dishes, you replace it with a vegetable oil. Is it really good for your body? Yeah. So one side is omega-6-3, inflammation, and also may affect your stem cell, affect your angiogenesis. Now this is something we read in the angiogenesis part. And another side is maybe you eat more saturated fat. It may slow down the growth of your stem cell. It may decrease the level of stem cell, okay, but you gain more back from the angiogenesis part. Yeah, so maybe it's a trade-off, and also maybe this is just a certain type of diet, just like just now I say the standard American diet. So you see, people who eat ketogenic diets, in the research, the articles say that it has improvement, even though they eat so much fat.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I think for just now you say the what, the
Ketogenic.
ketogenic. Yeah, for this one, is it like having enough evidence to prove that it is healthy? Not yet, right?
Not yet. Yeah, you can say not yet. It's not the most popular diet, because most of the doctor, most of the nutritionists, they will ask you to follow the standards food pyramid.
Yep.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because for this also I heard that it is like a few years ago I heard that I actually heard of the low carb diet. I think is referring to the this one, ketogenic.
Quite similar.
Yeah, and also I heard some rumors that there are some gurus or people who really become the mentor of ketogenic, and then they live well, but like up to maybe 50 something, they die suddenly. Yeah, it has also some rumors. Their body seems healthy, but suddenly they die.
Yeah, so we need more study. We really need more study, and not just like focus on the area you always are in. You you always are in, and just do the small circles, just do the more circles study. You really need to look outside of your world. Yeah. So, and also one thing is, if people already got the diabetes, already obese, yeah, do you think it's good for them to try something which may benefit, which may cut down their weight, improve their symptoms, for example, diabetes, and also the obesity, cut down the weight? Do you think it's better, or do you think they should continue the diet they're always having, and then keep become more fat and more fat, and their diabetic symptoms become more serious and serious? There's a trade-off. There's a trade-off here, and something you need to consider.
Yeah. Yeah, and also thank you for pointing out just now, association and cause and effect, they are different. And yeah, I think I give an example. Yeah, I try to give one example of association and cause and effect. We all know that African, yeah, they are good at exercise, sports. So I think
What?
there are some.
So what's your last words?
Yeah, exercise and sports. I mean the sports.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the athlete, you can see majority of athletes in some particular exercise or sports are Africans. So there is an association that Africans has maybe a body which is more suitable, or maybe you can say that is some genetic factor or what. They do better in sports, but this is association, right? And the cause and effect is another matter. Yeah, let's say in one particular competition, yeah, maybe a white guy uh, can can win the African. Yeah, we can try to find out another cause and effects. Maybe this guy is have greater stamina or what. Yeah, that is the cause and effect.
And also it reminds me about the atomic habit, which is you need to play the game you are good at. And try to imagine the Michael Jordans go to swim, and one of the top athletes in the swimming, I forget his name, but this is in the Atomic Habit book. And if you switch them, yeah, the Michael Jordans go to swim, and then another the swimming champions, Olympic swimming champion, go to run. Go to play basketball or something like that. And can they do well? They cannot do well. Yeah, sorry, I think the Atomic Habit book is not referring to Michael Jordan. It's referring one of the athletes that is good for running. It's the best runner. So
Running, one is swimming, right?
Yeah, and what matter is their body length. For swimming, for swimming you need, I'm not sure, it's a long leg. Yeah, you need a long leg, and then you need a short body. And
no, I think swimming you need
it's
a
the
long
opposite,
arm.
right? Yeah, it's something like that. Yeah, it's a long body, long arm, and then you need a and then for running you need a long leg. Is it something like that? Yeah. So this is you can say this is the what medal, but not the race medal.
Yeah.
And you can say, because Africa, most of them, because of their genetic, because of their gene, they have longer leg than other races. Yeah, so of course they perform better in running. But you need to find out the real cause and effect. You cannot just look at, oh, Africa is good. Yeah, so we all of them we need to change our race to become Africans, or we need to like try ourselves to born. Yeah, if I want my child to become the top runner, I need to marriage with the Africans, something like that. Yeah, maybe it doesn't work because half of the gene is come from you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a very, very good example about the association and cause and effect. Yeah. So anything want to add in?
No.
Yeah. So yeah, talk to you tomorrow.
Yeah, talk to you tomorrow. Goodbye.
Bye.